let's talk about the Apple event.
It is, what is it? It's Tuesday morning. Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Patrick. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a worship pastor, I own my own tech company. I love to talk about tech, review tech, and share my life with you. And this is another video where we are going to be talking about WWDC, which is the Worldwide Developers Conference that Apple puts on every single year. And it happened yesterday. And a lot of people are ticked. Why? Because they wanted to see a new Mac Mini, a new MacBook Pro, a lot of new hardware. But this is a developers conference. So the fact that they didn't share any new hardware or release any new inventions or innovations on their current hardware isn't surprising. Have they released things at WWDC before? In the past? Yes, absolutely. But yesterday they didn't, and everybody is mad about it. However, it's a developers conference, a software developers conference. So of course it's going to be centered around software. Are my headphones playing music? No. Oh, that's the fan on my very loud MacBook Pro. So there's a few things I'm excited about, and I'm just going to run down a quick list of things that you might be excited about or interested in. And listen, this isn't going to cover everything. It's just a few points that I think are worth bringing up. Let me just jump right into this list. Let's get started. Here's what I'm excited about or interested in from yesterday's event from Apple at the WWDC Worldwide Developers Conference 2021. Number one, let's get started with FaceTime. Now, FaceTime is something that a lot of people use. I live in New York City, and for some reason I have terrible cell reception, so I don't use FaceTime video all the time, but I even use FaceTime just for audio calls over Wi-Fi. FaceTime is a great app that everybody loves, but it has been limited to iOS and Mac applications. Those are the only pieces of hardware that can use FaceTime, but not anymore. Now there's something called FaceTime links. You can send a FaceTime link to someone on a Windows phone, an Android phone, or even a PC. Any device with a web browser can join in a FaceTime call. This is huge. You've got those group texts where there's that one person with the green bubble as opposed to the blue bubble, and they can't FaceTime with you guys. Now they can. And this is something that Apple does. Instead of creating brand new technology, they look around in the world, they see that everybody or a lot of people are still working remote, that FaceTime is becoming even more popular, and they're saying, well, let's release it to more people and compete with Zoom, compete with other companies that are allowing you to video chat no matter what device you're using. When you are chatting with FaceTime, there's now something called spatial audio that if you have a group call and you got a bunch of people spread out on that call, your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac will realize who's talking and create a bit more of a stereo sound so that you can look in the direction of whoever's talking. Not a big deal, but kind of fun. You also can now, with FaceTime, share your screen. So if you're using your iPhone, if you're using your iPad, and you've got that friend that's like, hey, show me how to do this, you can actually see their screen and help them walk through something. I think those are some really great features. There's also now a grid view in FaceTime. And there's now portrait mode in FaceTime, which will blur your background and give you that blurred background look that everybody loves from the portrait mode on so many phone cameras out there and cameras out there. So some FaceTime upgrades that are going to make things easier for you and be really functional for you going forward. And you can see that they're adding all of these things in to keep you away from Zoom and things like that, and get you closer to just using your native Apple applications to get what you need done. They're trying, it's not a, in my opinion, this isn't a full-on, we are competing with Zoom thing, but it is a, you know, it's kind of a, they're dipping their toes further into that water where instead of moving over to another application to video chat, you can now use FaceTime because you can use it across any platform with a web browser or any device with a web browser. You can also share screens and things like that. So I see this as a big win for Apple. Great innovation. I love what they've done here. There's now something in the iOS devices called Focus. You've always been able to turn your notifications on and off on an iOS device, but now you can choose different levels of focus, different notification settings depending on what you're doing. So you could create like a bedtime routine or focus. You could create a morning focus where in the morning you want to receive texts but you don't want to receive phone calls, that type of a thing. I don't know all the details here, but now that there are different versions of what we might call do not disturb, I think that's really great. Depending on you go into a meeting, you're about to go to bed, there's different things you want to be alerted by during those times, and now you can create some of those settings with what they call an iOS 15 focus. There's also something that's huge that I love called Shareplay. You now can listen to music and watch video in sync with someone else. So long story short, if I'm watching a movie on Netflix, I can Shareplay it with someone across the world. Hey, I'm about to watch this movie on Netflix. Do you want to watch it with me? Boom. And instead of doing the 1, 2, 3 start, you're both watching that movie together or listening to that song together using what's called Shareplay. I love that feature. That's going to be really fun for families who have to do a lot of travel and they're away from their kids or their partner, or even friends that want to watch a movie together. Shareplay. Love that. There's now something called live text in iOS 15, which, by the way, iOS 15, the operating system that's used on iPhones, that's the new version of iOS 15. We were on 14, now we're on 15. A lot of these are iOS 15 features. Glad I let you know about that halfway through the video. There's something called live text. You're in a meeting, it shows a whiteboard, and you hold your camera of your phone up to that whiteboard, and the text will kind of be pulled off of that whiteboard. Now, it says nothing about handwriting. What if their handwriting is garbage? I don't know. Obviously, it needs to be legible, but with photos in your photos library or with your camera, if you hold your camera up or look at photos in your photos library and it sees text, that text will pop up on the screen and you can literally copy it and paste it anywhere you want. This is huge. You're in a meeting and you'd like to take handwritten notes on a whiteboard, but then you want to make those digital to share with your team instead of sending photos. That text can pop out, copy, paste into an email, send. Really cool feature in my opinion. We've all been waiting for it, and here it is. They made some updates to Apple Wallet, which one of these updates I'm really excited about. It's home keys. A lot of the keys we use, I don't have my keys with me. They're over there in my backpack. Video coming on my new backpack. This will be my third backpack video on my channel. I don't know. I love backpacks. Sorry. I'm not sorry. Don't make me apologize for loving backpacks. So a lot of these keys that we're using, hotel keys, apartment keys, are these fobs that have that NFC or near field communication, or maybe I'm using the wrong term there, but you hold a key fob up to a door, it unlocks. Well, now you can use home keys within your wallet in iOS 15, where you've been able to store credit cards and debit cards and boarding passes and things like that for the longest time. Now can hold home keys. So you can, one example they used is when you check into a hotel, if that hotel is set up to be used with home keys, it will just automatically send a home key to your Apple Wallet. You walk up to that door in the hotel, you hold your phone up to the door, boom, it lets you right in. You can also now add IDs and driver's licenses to your wallet on iOS 15, and they're saying that the TSA, the airport authority, is going to be the first place that's going to automatically integrate this whole ID system from your phone, showing them your ID, all of your information pops up. They're going to be the first ones the TSA is going to be the first ones to adopt this as something they use all the time. Because, the TSA is a super well-oiled machine. I don't see any problems happening here. One thing I'm excited about with this whole wallet and home keys thing is the smart home features. This might unlock being able to, approach your home, unlock the home. Once the home is unlocked, things based on, where your phone is, things are turning on and off in your home. I don't know, but I see this as a really cool feature. My apartment uses a key fob. Having my phone with me, which I always have, but sometimes I do forget my keys, pulling out my phone and just holding it up to my door, it unlocks. great feature. I love that. Now let's move away from iOS. Let's move away from the phones. Let's move away from the iPad. Let's move on to the Mac, because a new operating system for Mac OS, Mac operating system, was released, and it's called Monterey. Now, one thing in Monterey that I want to just get right out of the way that I'm really excited about but also confused by is universal control. Long story short, you have two devices, an iPad and a Mac. You put them close together, and using universal control without doing anything, you're able to use one mouse and one keyboard to control both devices. In the demo, they pulled, I think, an iPad or an iMac. They pulled an iPad and an iMac on the left and right beside a MacBook Pro. And when they moved the cursor of the MacBook Pro on the trackpad, the cursor was recognized by the iPad and it moved over to the iPad. Sorry, microphone. Then they moved to the left, and the cursor went onto the iMac. So you were using one keyboard, one mouse, or trackpad, and you're controlling all of these devices. Now, I think that's great, and it really reminded me of that scene in Iron Man when he's in the courtroom and he has the phone and he's just throwing things onto different screens. And as a tech guy, we all look at that scene and we go, that would never happen. It just wouldn't happen. And now we're kind of seeing that. We're seeing one device just look at other devices that you own, and they have this universal control where you're able just to move your cursor between each machine. And then they were actually able to take files and just drag them between the different machines. And I'm going, well, where do those files go? And it was kind of like that ignorance is bliss moment where I'm watching the presentation and I'm like, that's really amazing. But in the back of my mind, I'm going, but Patrick, where are those files going to go? If it's dragging and dropping, obviously it's not going to move things from one machine to the other or one device to the other. It's obviously going to cut. Now, am I going to have multiple versions of that item? So there's a lot of things a lot of questions I have that I want to get worked out. But seeing the fact that you can have three devices moving between them without having to change between keyboards and mice and things like that, it's really, really cool. And I have a lot of questions, but it's really cool. You can also now AirPlay to your Mac. So you have a device like an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac. You can AirPlay to a Apple TV or something like that. But right in front of us, we have our Mac screens so often. I have my phone, and I'm saying, hey, guys, watch this video, and everybody's crowding around my little phone. But if I have my Mac here, I can now AirPlay and use my Mac's display as an AirPlay display. I just think that's a nice little feature that we kind of should have had all along. They made some updates to AirPods. They have something called Conversation Boost, where if you're using your AirPods, which I actually don't like the AirPods. Hot take. I don't like the AirPods, but a lot of people do. And it drives me crazy when people just constantly have their AirPod headphones. I shouldn't say AirPod headphones. That's redundant. When people have their AirPods in all the time, it drives me crazy. And now that's going to happen even more because there's something called Conversation Boost. So you're sitting in a restaurant with a friend and the server comes up, or maybe you're just listening to music in a coffee shop. Somebody comes up and talks to you. When you turn and begin talking to that person, it zeroes in on the fact that you're talking to someone and lets you hear them better. Really interesting. I'm interested to see how this works in the real world. I'm sure it's going to be great. I think it's a really cool innovation, but it also just means we keep our headphones in even longer, which is just, I don't know, that just weirds me out for some reason. But I like the technology. I think it's cool. And now Find My app, Find my iPhone, Find my iPad, Find my AirTag, or whatever. That can now be used with AirPods, which is really, really cool. There's something in Notes that was released that I really, really like. They have mentions now. So if you at someone in a note, it automatically shares it with them. So I'm assuming that's based off your contacts at my wife. Sorry. At Teresa, my wife, it will automatically share that note with her. I guess she accepts that invitation or something like that, and now you're collaborating with them. I don't know. I think that's really cool. So they're trying to get it it's kind of like a they're trying to break into that like Google Docs world where they're like, hey, you can share this stuff too. I like that. So you can add mentions. There's now tags inside of Notes, which are essentially hashtags like hashtag work or hashtag song idea or something like that. And you can have these hashtags that you search by. And there's also something called Quick Note in iOS, and I think iPad OS. Oh, there's so many S's and O's and whatever. There's now something called Quick Note where you can swipe from the bottom of the screen and just boom, a note pops up. You begin taking a note. You can also like flip through your notes there or whatever. So, all this is doing is not making you open the Notes app and find your notes. Cool feature, but do we need it? No. But is it going to be convenient? Absolutely. Last but not least, and this is kind of morbid, but they created something called digital legacy. Now, this is something we're going to continue to run in as the world becomes more and more digital. People are going to have photos and iCloud libraries of photos and documents and all sorts of things that they're keeping on either their iPad or their Mac or their iPhone or whatever. And when you die, where does that information go? Accessing that information is kind of in a gray area for family members and things like that. Being able to have someone that you pass on your digital information to is something that Apple's now including in all of their in their software. So being able to, when someone dies, when someone passes, when someone dies, accessing their information for a trusted family member that has been given the permission to do so ahead of time has now become even easier. It's called digital legacy. Personally, I think this is a really great feature. You see time and time again how it's all these digital things that we're now creating can be hard to access when someone dies, or you're thinking to yourself, where does that information go? Passing it on to a family member is now completely possible. So be careful with those photo libraries, folks. A lot of photos out there. Okay. All right. You get it. You get it. Quick recap of WWDC, Worldwide Developers Conference 2021 from Apple. A lot of things that I found really interesting. A lot of things that I found to be disappointing. Like, I wish we could have seen new hardware, but it's a developers conference. Developers conference. It's a developers conference. It's for developers. It's for software developers. So, of course, it was software-based. Would it have been cool to see a new hardware, some sort of new hardware come out, new product? Absolutely. An upgrade to some of our hardware? Absolutely. But this software is still killer. I love what they've done with Facetime. I love what they've done with Shareplay. I love a lot of the things that I've listed here, but this isn't everything. These are just some of the hot takes from me that I thought were really cool. Apple.com will show you all of the information about everything released. I suggest you check it out, but hopefully some of this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, if you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free just to check out all the links in the description. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all of the things you're supposed to do on a YouTube video. This is just a quick one to let you know some of the updates. Have a good day. My wife, I'm out.